quick note before we start to everyone who've listened to episode 1, who are currently listening right now. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you guys from the bottom of our hearts. And special shout out to those who have shared it on their social media and shared it with their friends. Not going to name drop you guys here because we plan to bring you guys on the podcast and give you guys proper introductions. All right, that's enough. Please enjoy episode 2. Thank you for joining me. I can't believe that we're here, actually on the second one. For a long time, we didn't even know we would get the first one out.
Number 2, we made
Number
it.
2. So if you've listened to the first one, thank you. From the bottom of our hearts. And if you listen to this, thank you too. And by just one quick note, if you guys have questions or comments, I think you can tweet at us or you can email us, thealienandthejester@gmail.com, or message us through the Anchor app. We'll take questions. I don't think we'll get any, but just
we'll
putting
answer
it out
every
there.
comment.
Well, yeah, at this point, yeah, the one comment we get from John, yes, I will definitely answer that. But if you have any comments, questions, please reach out. John, actually, I wanted to start with one solemn note. Rest in peace to Berserk author Kentaro Miura. I think we both followed Berserk.
Oh my goodness.
That hit us. That hit me pretty strongly because I think Berserk is definitely my favorite manga, and in most top 10 lists, it is number 1. It's not even top 3. It's most of them. It's number 1. It's my anime list. It's number 1 with a pretty good margin. And
yeah, I find it actually strange because I don't know if you also experienced this, but I feel like when I talk to a lot of people that watch anime,
yeah,
Berserk is usually that anime that I think is like so good, but they haven't heard of. You know, like
yeah.
they'll know about One Piece, they'll know about all the mainstream like stuff like Naruto, Attack on Titan, but they don't know about Berserk, which I
Mm-hmm.
find so strange. Like because I think Berserk actually has like a pretty large fan base, and I mean the art is top
Phenomenal. Top
notch.
number
Yes,
1.
it's elite,
Elite. I
and
agree.
the story is also just so immersive.
Right.
The world building, it stands at the top, like next to all of the other anime. So I'm just surprised that not that many people know about it actually. Well, that's my experience. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you've kind of faced the same thing.
No, same thing. Although I'm not surprised because the anime adaptations that it has had, they had a 1997 anime which wasn't great. Yeah, I think it holds a lot of nostalgic value, and then probably the next iteration was in the 3 movies, which is how I was introduced to the whole series. I think either you or our friend Roland introduced me to it, and I fell in love with it.
Hmm.
Um, and that was it was good, but it wasn't great. And then they had another anime that came out which was pretty darn bad. It had a lot of
Yes.
CGI mistakes, so it really didn't break through the mainstream. The music in every one of those series that I mentioned were perfect. I
Hmm.
think people still listen to those soundtracks. So it never really broke through mainstream in the anime side. And manga side, I mean, if anyone reads manga, they know about it. I haven't talked to anyone who read Japanese manga who haven't heard of Berserk,
Uh-huh.
because
Uh-huh.
it has such a huge hold on the psyche,
Yeah.
on the fabric. The modern dark fantasy genre has had so much influences from Berserk. The Dark Souls game, is directly influenced by
Yep. The
Berserk.
armors,
The
yes.
armors. The other thing that's stopping it from becoming mainstream is that it's the content. It is a very mature take. I don't think it's for everybody
Yeah, it is
at all.
seinen, right?
It's seinen, yeah. For listeners who don't know, it's a mature tag. But I don't want to dwell too much on it. I just wanted to say that even if you don't plan on reading it, just Google Berserk panels, and you will see the amount of work that went into it. And everyone from his assistants to people who have worked with him say the exact same thing. He just wouldn't give up on drawing a panel. They would all want to go home and he would want to draw it. And it shows every panel from the day he started Berserk to now, to the last, it's an unfinished work, to the last chapter that was released. perfect. Every panel is perfect. Rest in peace to a legend.
Yeah, and I kind of think that's why he wasn't able to finish because he was just such a
Mm,
perfectionist, like for his craft,
right,
that
right.
he wouldn't take the shortcuts. He wouldn't cut the corners.
Right. He had been basically instructing his assistants to draw a little bit more for him, so that a lot of those work wouldn't fall on him, I believe. And there have been questions about if they were going to continue the series for him. The way manga artist drawing really happens
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
that it's not always one artist drawing everything. I think in the beginning it usually is, but as a manga gets serialized and it gets more popularity, they have a whole team of assistants, I believe, working on it.
Yep.
So they probably know the story. They probably know how it will end, but we'll see. I'm just glad that the work so far, however far it has been, I got to experience it because it's amazing.
Yeah. Some of those pictures, like, it belongs in a museum.
Museum, you said it, and I agree. But anyway, that's I just wanted to give a short excerpt on that. Otherwise, how are you?
I'm good. You know me, man. I'm always
No,
good.
no, I don't. That's why I asked you.
You got me. Yeah, I'm good, man. I actually really like talking about Berserk. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that kind of mindset of being a perfectionist to your craft, even
Mm-hmm.
when the reward is not so apparent, I feel like that's kind of missing now, or like gradually being lost, where people expect like that feedback more
I
quickly,
see. Right.
like that kind of immediate instant satisfaction. So for him to just be so compelled to work so hard on something, even when the rewards of it are not so clear, like he's just
Mm-hmm.
passionate about it, and I hope it continues to be this way, where people feel that they are able to do this.
Right. I agree with you. I do think sometimes, I guess, striving for perfection can hinder you from doing the work you need to. One of my mentors at work, he wrote an article that was really eye-opening. I think it was titled something like "Striving for Perfection and When It Goes Wrong."
Mm-hmm.
The basically the TLDR of that article was that it is great to chase perfection, but sometimes it can stop us from meeting deadlines. One, and two, actually putting out a good report, because sometimes when you it can lead you a wrong direction. And I think one of the examples he put down is if you strive for perfection by putting as much info as you can, it might not benefit the reader. Sometimes it's good to hold back. Sometimes it's good to put out a quote unquote 80% done work, because that is exactly what the reader needs. It depends on what you're doing it for, and sometimes turning in something that's 80% complete is better than never turning in something that's 100% complete or missing a deadline for something.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, I guess I have like mixed opinions on that because like
Mm-hmm.
on one hand, I know that's exactly it's just like the Pareto principle where
Oh,
um
yes, 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 yes,
20
yes.
I think it's like 20% of your work leads to 80% of your
Yep.
rewards or something like that. Basically saying that you shouldn't go for 100% because it's not
Mm-hmm.
like effective or efficient. So I get that, and like in startups and like when you're trying to start a company, people always say that too, like the saying is great is the enemy of good or something.
Good. Right, right, right.
The thing is, I just feel like yes, for mainstream, I understand that, but to push like the limits, if that makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
like to really push the limits of like anime or like manga or like art or even
Art.
writing or
Mm-hmm.
whatever field, I feel like you need those people who are just like fanatics,
I
and
agree.
they're not gonna like settle. They just need it done their way, similar to kind of like Steve Jobs, how everyone knew him as kind of like this asshole who
Mm-hmm.
did not compromise, and he just needed it like his way or no way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of why people respect Apple so much, because they know like, okay, there was no compromising here. Like this person needed it to be done his way, or like that was it. There was just no budging. And
Right.
I kind of respect that about Berserk, and I think that's kind of why it's so famous actually because he just didn't compromise. Like
Absolutely.
he just needed to push it to very limits. Like it's so rare for you to see manga drawn to that level of detail,
Hmm.
and he chose to do it anyway. Even when other people probably were telling him, his manager was probably saying like dude, like you don't need to do all this detail. Like it's gonna sell
Right.
anyway. Like you can draw like a fourth of what you're drawing now and make the same amount of money. And for him to say no to that, wow, like he that guy has my
Hmm.
respect. Like so, as you said, like rest in peace. I feel like we're losing people like that. So hopefully there's more because we need people like that to push the limits.
I totally agree with you. I think in non-technical fields, in art or even sports, you know what? I'll include technical fields in there. I think being a fanatic sometimes can mark you as an asshole,
Mm,
but it
yeah,
can
it's
produce. We have some mangas, by the way, Japanese comics. If people aren't aware, there are some quote
and if you
unquote.
didn't know that, you can stop listening.
No, stop. It's okay. This is a podcast where
I'm
people come to
kidding. I'm
learn.
kidding.
Yeah, there are some mangas that are relatively poorly drawn. I think they're all drawn really well. Attack on Titan kind of comes up in my mind, and
Oh,
One
really?
Punch Man, the original, the web comic
Oh,
by
yeah.
One, it was pretty poorly drawn, but they became hits because of the story and the writing.
Mm-hmm.
And their quote unquote bad art for Attack on Titan, especially in the beginning, didn't hinder them from achieving greatness. For Berserk, I do think if they were drawn poorer than it is, I think it would still be great because the story is just so compelling. They have this one arc, the Golden Age arc, which is
Yep.
better than any story I've ever read.
Dude, once you said Golden Age, I am like actually feeling goosebumps. Just
Right.
from you saying that, like all the feelings
Hmm.
that came from watching that and reading that.
Reading that, right. It is, in my opinion, the perfect arc. The story just is perfect. Anyway, but like you said, going for perfection, the panels are art. They could be in a museum. I think that does lift it above anything else.
Mm,
It
mm-hmm.
puts it in a category of its own. And I feel like even if someone goes for that perfection, not everyone reaches it. Not everyone reaches Kentaro Miura's level. I'm sure
Yeah.
there are artists out there. There are a lot of artists out there that put a lot of effort into their drawings and they do get recognition, but they don't get the same amount of recognition. And to be fair to Berserk, in the beginning, it wasn't as good as it is now. His drawing definitely improved, but
Yep.
some of the panels, even early on, you just look at, there's so much going on. And even if it's in black and white, even if it's just 2D images, it just feels alive.
Yeah, you can feel the color. I mean,
You really can.
even with just black and white, he's just such a powerful artist. So, yes, if you haven't, like, you need to read or watch Berserk or both.
I
Just
wouldn't I wouldn't recommend it to everybody. I do think I can't even say some of the triggers because I believe even saying it is triggering. There's no I'm not even saying it as a joke. I do think that is the case. I would say yeah, it's rated for very mature audiences. That's all I can say. So you don't have to watch it. You I would say you can Google some panels. Actually, don't Google some panels. It might trigger.
yeah, it's a seinen. It's for adults. Like, it's like kind
Right.
of like watching a rated R movie. If
Mm-hmm.
maybe R to X, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you need to be. If you watch Game of Thrones, you could probably
I was
handle Berserk. Yeah.
You read my mind. I was just thinking that. I think it's about at the same level of Game of Thrones, maybe a tad bit higher in some of the content, but it's around that same level.
Dude, actually, about Game of Thrones, I don't know
Yes.
if you want to talk about it, but
Oh, let's talk about it.
I read recently that D&D, I think the
Mm-hmm.
directors of Game of Thrones, like they're actually kind of sadistic assholes. There was like that scene with, I think it's one of the later seasons when Cersei is imprisoned,
Mm-hmm.
and apparently, like there was this woman who was in charge of her imprisonment, right? And there's like that scene where it's kind of like a redemption where Cersei is able to escape her position,
Mm-hmm.
her being imprisoned, and the tables are turned. Like her imprisoner becomes imprisoned, and Cersei goes from prisoner to
Oh, right, right, right.
judge. And I think the scene is like she starts waterboarding the person who used to be in charge of her
Yes, yes,
imprisonment.
yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And apparently, like, I don't know if you already read about this,
I did not.
but D&D, like, they just subjected that woman to like hours of actual torture, like
Oh,
waterboarding,
jeez.
for the sake of the scene. And I think there are like other instances of this too throughout the series. Like, I had no idea. I think, yeah, I think Roz, she's like a
Right, right.
prostitute that shows up pretty often in the series. Like, she actually didn't really want to do some of the scenes anymore, but she was just like kind of pushed to do it. So yeah, I think another person kind of related to Joss Whedon
Mm-hmm.
and the stuff that came out about him too. Yeah, I thought it was interesting how. I mean, I feel like in the beginning of the series, like D&D, wow, they're doing such a great job with Game of Thrones, and now like a few years later, people are kind of uncovering all these truths about it, and I've even seen like people say that the Game of Thrones show wasn't even that good. It's just that they had amazing source material.
Mm.
Like anyone could have made a good show out of that source material because the source material was just godlike already.
While that's true, I do agree. The source material, I've read the books, amazing. There's just so much to pick from. I do think the first couple of seasons, D&D did an absolutely phenomenal job adapting it, but also a huge props to the cast and crew, mainly the crew, because they picked out these locations which were perfect because it was such an over encompassing story. You needed a desert like spot, you needed a snowy area, you needed a central summery looking location, and all that was a perfect location finding, I suppose. And then tying all of that together, I think D&D did a great job. And I think sometimes when the creators are doing less than good things, when things are going well, no one wants to speak up because they look
Mm-hmm.
like someone who's bringing the party down.
Yeah.
And honest, I mean, I don't know. You read the article. I haven't read the article. I don't want to speak too much on it, but that I will say that they did a great job in the first couple of seasons with adapting the story. It wasn't just the source material. In fact, I believe they shot a pilot that they never aired, and they reshot the pilot. And in the second pilot, in the pilot that aired, there are some scenes from the original pilot, and the original pilot from all sources, it was a pile of crap. They didn't. Apparently the costumes weren't up great. The directing wasn't great. There were just a lot of problems with it. And D&D came back. They learned from it, and they shot another pilot that really worked well. And then they shot the season, and the first season was amazing. And the second season, third season, I think it kind of started falling off on the fifth season. I think when they stopped having the source material to adapt from, when they had to sort of write on their own, I think that's when they started failing. I also think they could have given a little bit more effort at the end, but credit where credit is due. They did a hell of a job adapting in the first couple of seasons.
Yeah. For me, that show was never the same after Ned Stark died. After they killed Ned Stark, man.
which which happened at the end of first season, if spoiler alert. But that's an interesting article find. They did always seem like two frat bros who got a show to direct from all the interviews and stories. But yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Speaking of kind of good shows, Attack on Titan.
Oh god. Okay. Attack on Titan is an anime for listeners who don't know. It's a great anime.
eh,
It has hit the
eh.
mainstream in a way that no other anime in the past have, in my opinion, other than maybe Dragon Ball Z. You
I'm
would you would
I'm
agree with
yeah,
that.
I don't know if I agree. I mean, like I've been rewatching Naruto recently, and I just
And I
feel
love
like
Naruto.
yeah, Naruto. I just feel like for a mainstream anime, I'm kind of surprised that Attack on Titan isn't like better, actually.
Mm.
Because like with Naruto, every episode, like I just had to keep watching.
Hmm.
Uh, but Attack on Titan, I did not kind of get that sense. So I felt like sometimes the story was a little bit rocky, the
Hmm.
pacing as well.
Hmm.
But with Naruto, like just everything comes together. All the characters are so strong by themselves. I don't know if I can say the same thing
Have
about Attack on
you?
Titan.
Okay, and I love, just a disclaimer. I love Naruto. I think I rewatch the series maybe every couple of years. I don't watch it with the filler. There is a great fan edit. It's called Naruto Kai, which basically removes all the fillers, and I think that is the best way to watch the anime. It takes out 60% of the actual anime, which is all filler. But still, even with the filler, it honestly is a great anime. And in terms of the emotional pull, I don't think any other anime has done a better job. I'll give you that. But your claim that Attack on Titan isn't as good. I want to pull up something, and you know what I'm gonna pull up, but I'm
Oh,
gonna pull it up anyway. I am
okay, yeah.
IMDb top episodes. This is
Oh,
TV. It's
IMDb is
oh,
like
wait. TV
oh,
episode rating count at least 1,000. Number one, Breaking Bad. Ozymandias, another great show. And everyone should watch Breaking Bad. It's amazing. Number two, Attack on Titan episode, Hero, which is I think is season three. Doesn't matter. It's an Attack on Titan episode.
I
Number
feel like that's not fair though, because anime is becoming more mainstream. Like with
number
Naruto,
number three. Number three.
okay.
Hopefully, it's a Naruto episode. No, it is Attack on Titan again.
Oh my
Okay, number
gosh.
four, Star Wars Clone War. Number five, it's Star Wars Clone Wars. Six, seven. Number eight, Attack on Titan once more, and then we'll leave it
Like I
at
feel
that.
like anime has become mainstream. It's like there's more and more people that watch anime, and it's not like something in the closet, that they
Hmm,
have. Like it's on Netflix. Like it's on
it is on
like
Netflix.
everyone is able to easily watch some of the best anime like out there now. So I feel like
Hmm.
that's a bit unfair because Naruto is quite a bit older than IMDb, and I feel like those rating sites there's usually a lot of like recency bias.
No, I agree with you.
Like like
I do agree with
yeah,
you.
like Inception, for example, on IMDb, I think has the same rating as The Godfather.
No,
Um,
not anymore, unfortunately, or fortunately. It has been pegged down a bit. I do agree with the recency bias, but I think you're the unpopular one saying Attack on Titan is bad.
I see. Which do you think Attack on Titan gets better as it goes along? Like, which is your favorite season of Attack on
I
Titan,
I have to say season three so
or
far.
for favorite arc? I see.
Favorite, yeah, that taking back the district season three is by far is when everything sort of comes together in a crescendo. At least the first big saga is finished, and then it starts the second big saga, which is the last one. I do think at the end of it, the third one will still go down as, I think that's what happens with a lot of stories in general. Even with
Mm-hmm.
Naruto, the last arc wasn't as good as some of the middle ones. I think when you're trying to wrap up everything, you often miss something. You make some people unhappy.
Yeah.
It's just bound to happen. So I understand. I understand that. But to answer your question, yeah, definitely the third season. It does get better. It does get better because the world sort of opens up and it
Yep.
just brings along a lot of story and a lot of yeah. I mean, why don't you like it?
Yeah. I guess my personal way to I kind of judge anime on a few things, and
Hmm.
one thing that I place a lot of emphasis on, like priority on, is can this anime make me cry?
Ah, okay, fair enough.
Yes, and that is one of the reasons why I think I don't like Attack on Titan as much, just because the emotional kind of range that I had watching it was not that great. I never felt like I was in a position where I felt so invested in any character or their like
Hmm.
situation that I could actually like shed tears for them. Um,
Interesting.
but yeah, because I feel like that's kind of one of the reasons you watch shows. It's in order to feel this big range of emotions, and with Naruto, I mean, even the first episode, even the very
That's
first
true.
episode when I don't even know like how they did it. This is something that I'm trying to study actually, like the structure of stories.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I have another that this could be for another podcast, but I can tell you why. School of Rock, the movie
Mm-hmm.
with Jack Black, is
Yes,
actually
yes.
just a retelling of Cinderella. It's the exact same
Ooh.
story, but that I can prove to you how it's the exact same story. But that could be for another podcast. But yeah,
Okay.
even Naruto, like even the first episode, I don't even know how. Like I just got to know like Iruko Sensei and Naruto,
Yeah.
but I
Okay,
was
you
able
can't even
to
say the
cry.
guy's name, man. Is Iruka Sensei? Come on
That
now.
is what I said. Oh come on. All right. Well, you
I
actually
kid. I
took
jest.
Japanese classes. You actually took you just well you actually took Japanese classes. This our view is like this man took Japanese for 4 years and he's trying to use that against me. But yeah, I don't know how he did it. So
Hmm.
I was bawling even the first episode, and I think
Yeah.
there's also another way that I differ from a lot of people in this regard. Like I feel like even though Boku no Hero is mainstream, I feel like it's kind of also mainstream to hate on Boku no Hero in a way
Oh yes, yes,
by
yes.
people saying it's too mainstream. Like it's such like
Absolutely.
a typical shonen manga or anime. But I'm kind of against that actually, interestingly enough, and it's because Boku no Hero it can make me cry at will. I feel like
It does have emotional scenes. Yep.
every single episode, just the sheer amount of like passion and emotion behind like All Might and Deku. I know a lot of people hate on Deku as a character, but just their willingness to sacrifice themselves, it just renders me hopeless. Like
Hmm.
I am weak before Deku and All Might.
Okay.
So that's another reason I think Boku no Hero for me is like really up there, just
Hmm.
because like it can make me cry.
I got you. And okay, that's fair. That's I like that. I will give you. I wanted to do an anime. I feel like this will be the anime episode. I wanted to do one where I reveal my five fingered how I review animes that I watch. And I think it kind of
Oh,
goes for all any shows, but the five things I always look for is one, the hype and the emotion, which you just said, you look for that sad, the things that pull at your heartstrings. That's
mm,
definitely one of them. But for me, it doesn't necessarily have to quote unquote make me tear up. Yeah, like you said, Naruto episode 1 will pull at your heartstring. No question about it. I teared up. I get excited when I watched that first episode. I mean, this is an orphan kid who is looked down upon. There's some plot holes involving that, but let's not talk about that. But it and he just it's such an underdog just looking badass. You
yeah.
can't not either cry, smile, or just get off your seat after that first episode. I think I watched it when I was in middle school and I was just like, what? There are
Oh,
shows like this? It blew my
wow. Like
mind.
what a treat. Yeah.
What a treat.
What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. So that's one. The second one to me is the music and the sound. Again, Naruto has that. The OST is just fantastic.
Yeah.
And if we have to talk about Attack on Titan, that one has that. Attack on Titan, the sound people listen to a soundtrack for gym, for going out walking, for whatever you want. Great, great music. The third one, the third finger is the direction and the art. So how well is the adaptation, and if it's not it's an original anime, how well is it drawn? I think for Naruto, it's mostly good, but it's not all great, and that's not necessarily because I don't really fault it because at that time anime was supposed to come out every week. There was no break.
Hmm.
Now, with Attack on Titan, they can take a 4 or 5 year hiatus. My Hero Academia is in seasons. They have the chance to kind of stop and put their budget into the big fight scenes, and they can prioritize that. In Naruto's time, one, there was not that much money put into the anime anyway, and second, they were releasing an episode every week.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
yeah.
So I don't necessarily take it away from it, but even with the main episodes, some of the art wasn't great. They have gotten the studio itself has have gotten better in their next iteration and Boruto, but that's another another thing. The fourth finger plot slash story. Naruto has that. I mean, I don't need to explain it to you. It's a great story. The fillers were meh for me. I know you like some of them. For me, maybe one or two kind of hit, and the rest were just not worth finishing for me. And the last one, five, is the voice acting. I think people
Oh.
underestimate that. There's some anime that I watched with subpar voice acting, and it really takes away from your
Mm-hmm.
enjoyment. The most recent example is Black Clover, which is probably the best Naruto clone, or not Naruto clone, but the best recent anime that kind of match up with Naruto in terms of that hype feeling. Not the sad feeling, but that hype feeling. And the main character, the voice acting in the first couple of episodes were basically unbearable. It,
Wow.
it was just him yelling and shouting just in the most annoying way. And
Wow. I'm surprised you kept watching, actually. That sounds
I
like a real turnoff.
it was a turnoff, and I think it was a new VA, it was a new voice actor, and they got better to a point where now, well, not now, but in the middle, he would be yelling, but it wouldn't be as bad. It's one of those guilty pleasure anime of mine where it's not hitting all those five check marks, but it has that. It is a guilty
It's
pleasure
like the
anime.
side hoe.
It's a side hoe, but it does get really good. And the current arc that's happening right now is pretty fantastic.
Hmm.
It's one of those animes that you don't. It doesn't really care about the magic building. Like it's like Dragon Ball Z. Like one things keep one upping each other. So it so the established magic foundation can be broken at any time, but that's the fun of it.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it'd be great for us to do like a top five anime or something.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
but I don't know if this episode, because I really have to think about it. I feel
Mm,
like it's quite hard, but I think people would want to know that just because there's so many anime out there, and
mm-hmm.
I think people want to know like what is good to watch, like what is considered like good taste, and what do other people think is really good. So I think
I'll
that'd
let
be
you
fun.
think about it now because I have my current top five because I had to answer it for someone actually recently asked me that, and I sort of had to come down to my current five. So I actually have it.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I don't
and
know
I'll
if I
look.
have five, but I can. Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't have to
if you
be
want to
five.
share, yeah.
Okay, and so while I'm
Do
saying this, you think
do you
about
want
it
to
because I'm gonna
share?
come
I
back at
mean,
you. Yeah, I thought about it only a few weeks ago, and every top five changes. So I'm this is not static, but for someone who haven't watched it at all, watched any anime at all, my go-to has always been Full Metal Alchemist. It's
ooh,
the best. It's in terms of all those five things I said. It hits every mark, and if a listener doesn't want the Japanese voice acting, the English voice acting for Full Metal Alchemist is equal to the Japanese one. In a lot of animes, that's not the case,
oh, so
unfortunately.
clarification. This is Brotherhood, or because there's been a few.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's two adaptations: the original one and then the Brotherhood one. The Brotherhood one is more closer to the manga. Honestly, I mean, if you have time for one, definitely watch Brotherhood. But the original's not bad either. They're both on
Mm,
Netflix. They're both fantastic animes. Forget anime. They're both fantastic shows.
yep.
You're just not going to be disappointed with it. Period. I haven't had a single person who I recommended it to. I've had people who came back and said I don't like Attack on Titan, not including you. Don't like Naruto. Don't like this. Don't like that. I've not had a single person come back and say, "Oh yeah, the Full Metal Alchemist was not great." Every
Interesting.
time,
Interesting.
every time. And the second one is might surprise you. Right now is Haikyuu.
Oh
It
yes,
is
that's very surprising.
yeah. Currently, as it stands, it has overtaken my number one all time favorite from Full Metal. And I've been a Full Metal
Wow.
fan since middle school. forget nostalgia. It's such a great show, but the current Haikyuu season, the way the emotion just gets me. No other show, forget anime, no other show has ever done that to me. The music is perfect. The hype, again, the emotions, perfect. The direction in the current season and the art faltered a little bit because of I believe it was because of COVID. Plot story is perfect. I love this author. The author sets up so many things and everything has a resolution. And the voice acting is it's phenomenal.
Mm.
Yeah, currently it sits right on top. So that would be my, if someone likes sports animes, especially, it's about volleyball, but please don't let that stop you. And the third one, I think you know about this, Steins Gate.
I do know about this.
Yeah, Steins Gate
So you're
is
one of those guys.
what do you mean one of those guys? It's great. It's a science fiction anime. It's about time travel. The first 6 episodes is probably the slowest thing you'll ever watch, and then it becomes just amazing.
Dude, you have to talk to my wife because I keep trying to get her to watch it, and we're on episode 5, I think. I convinced her to watch 5 episodes with
Right,
me,
right.
and I'm like, it's gonna get good. Trust me, it's gonna get good. And she does not want to budge. She's like, no, you watch it. But I'm like, no. What if it's really good? Like, don't we want to experience it together? And she's just like,
Mhm.
no, don't give me that. I don't want to watch it. Let me read the Wikipedia article on it. I'm like, no, do not do that. I will be so mad if you do that.
Right. I think, speaking of that and speaking of our significant others, because I was trying to get my partner to watch IQ, and the first couple episodes are slow, so it's tough to get into. Sometimes it's such a weird digression, but the Marvel movies really screw up the way build-up works. And I love the
Oh,
Marvel movies, but every movie by itself has build up, climax, and you enjoy it. And the formula is very well known. But in TV shows, especially anime, the the higher the build up, the bigger the payoff. And this is
mm,
so true with Haikyuu. With Steins Gate, I think the build up it could have been a little bit faster, but there's a reason why those 6 episodes are slow. All that build up, all that taking it slow pays off so well in the end. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a reason why you spend so much time with these characters. It makes you feel for them at the end.
dude. Speaking of build up, I feel like we've kind of come full circle with Steins
Yes.
Gate. Like, I feel like the author for that, if other people were probably telling him, it just goes back to kind of that perfectionist mindset. Other
Mm-hmm.
people were definitely telling this guy, dude, you have to speed things up. You have to make
You
it
think
kind
so,
of start
huh?
faster. And the author was just like, hell no, like I'm gonna do it this way, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Steins Gate is popular because it chooses to be so opinionated, and those first 6, or some people say it doesn't get good until episode 12 even, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that first 6 or 12 episodes, like he made it like that on purpose, and it's like part of the reason why it's like famous too. It's like, no, like you have to watch those first 6 or 12 episodes, and it's going to be so good you can't stop watching. And I think that's kind of part of like the following behind Steins Gate too. It's like famous for that. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's like another example of like being a perfectionist, kind of sticking to your guns, like paying off again. Because if he didn't do that, it would have just turned out like any other anime. I think like any other time travel anime.
It's funny. What was I going to say? I forget. Okay, fair enough. I'll just agree with you there. I'm gonna cut this section out because I forgot what I was going to say.
You're gonna
But
cut me out, man.
no, no, no. Cut myself out.
Oh no,
I'm
I
gonna
think you
keep
should
what you
leave it.
said. Okay.
Really?
No, I had something to say and I completely forgot. But I totally agree with you. I do agree with you. Oh yeah, I think I remember now. Is it a form of gatekeeping when you do that? When you just say, "Look, you gotta get through all those slow episodes to get the payoff."
It is
Is
gatekeeping,
It's kind of
but
gatekeeping, but it's a good kind of gatekeeping, I
it's
think.
okay. Yeah, I'm okay with gatekeeping if the payoff is good enough.
If the payoff is good enough, well said. I think if the payoff is not good enough, it's not worth it.
And in this case, I'm guessing the payoff was worth it.
Yeah, the payoff was worth it. And with Naruto, it's funny we're talking about build up. With Naruto first episode, it's there. There's very
Mm-hmm.
little build up, but it really hits. The end of the first episode, you're already hooked. And I think what Naruto does also well is that their first arc is one of the best one. Witcher 3, the game, does that as well. They put, in my opinion, the best side quest right in the front,
Oh.
so it just pulls you right in. So the Naruto first arc was the bridge arc, the one with Zabuza. If you don't feel emotional watching that arc, I feel bad for you. You might be a psychopath. It is such. And by the way, it includes a. Could I say it's a trans character? I'm not sure if it's a trans character or someone just cross dressing, but
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was
I
very
guess you could take it
progressive.
that way. Yeah, yeah. I guess you could take it that way. That didn't even come to mind, but I think you're definitely onto something there.
Yeah, and at least when I was young watching it, I never thought too much about it. But looking back, I just thought maybe it was very progressive. Like they were trying to do that. And Kishimoto, the author of Naruto, gets a lot of flack for not developing the women ninjas. Some of it is kind of justified because some of the weakest characters are women. Yeah, but still, I don't think it takes too much away from the story and the whole anime. But I think that's probably the biggest
Yeah.
criticisms he gets.
Yeah, I just want to like quickly address that, I guess,
Yes, please.
cuz I mean, the author is a man, so it kind of makes sense to me that the manga is more male driven just because he understands men better because he is a man.
Hmm.
So I think like kind of the opposite. On the other hand, like if there was a female author, I kind of feel like it would make sense for the female characters to be more fleshed out or be more developed, just because they she probably understands like what girls or women go through better. I think that's just kind of because like there's this kind of adage out there about like how do you write, and when you're writing, you're basically putting your own experiences and your own perceptions onto paper. So I feel like as a male author, it kind of makes sense for it to be male driven. And
Hmm.
I kind of thought the same like in Naruto before Shippuden. I just kept thinking like, darn, like Kishimoto's doing Sakura dirty. Like
Right.
Sakura's being made out to be like such a wimp, and it turned like 180 in Shippuden. I mean, after the time skip, like Sakura was one of the most overpowered characters I ever saw.
Okay.
I mean, she turns from like 0 to 100. Honestly,
Yeah, but also in the last arc, in the war arc, she fights alongside Naruto and Sasuke, two of the main male
yep.
characters, and she says something like, "Oh, I finally caught up with you guys," and then gets completely overpowered by the two main characters. Naruto and Sasuke become literal gods in terms of power, which it doesn't help the case. One thing I do want to say that the author of Full Metal Alchemist and Demon Slayer are women,
hmm
and I think they write the boys, fairly well. I don't think there's so I don't think we should also just say, oh, just because someone's a male author doesn't mean they shouldn't be exempt from writing good
Hmm.
female
Interesting.
characters.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think I think we're not qualified on really making comments on that anyway. I think we should just enjoy what's in front of us, at least us two, because we're idiots and we love Naruto, and that's it.
yeah. If we ever do, I do want to get more of your thoughts on what you said before about Marvel and how you feel like they kind of
Hmm.
ruined build up. I think that's a very interesting point that you're making there. But first of all, please continue.
There's nothing to continue really. I I I love Marvel and what they did with the MCU. It brought comic book heroes into the main front. For a long time, there was no cinematic universe. Us nerds have been asking for it for years, and it is a great feat that they connected 22 plus films into one saga and they actually made it work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm so happy to have experienced it. I watched both of the Endgame and Infinity Wars opening night with the audiences, and that experience is, I don't want to say once in a lifetime. I feel like we'll have it again, but there was nothing like it. Because as nerds, as people who have read comic books where all these characters are fighting each other and working together, you can never imagine seeing it in live action. So props where props is due, but I do think it. I don't know. It kind of, and I don't think it's just the Marvel movies. I think it's certain media in general where our attention span
Yeah.
is getting less and less, where we're expecting a big payoff within a 2 hour movie or maybe a trilogy. And sometimes it's good to spend time, extended time with characters over a large couple of episodes where certain episodes might feel like they're wastes or they're fillers, but there's a reason why they're there. You learn about them, you learn about their interactions, and they can also grow as a person. And seeing that journey is so important. On the topic of Marvel movies, you really don't see Captain America leading the Avengers in
Mm-hmm.
a big extended way. In the comics, you do because there's so many issues. If it was a TV show, you would see him leading the Avengers in many missions. So for me, I know it felt a little disjointed, and I hope we get some iteration where we see Captain America, maybe a past, maybe a flashback where they are training or to fill in the gaps where he's leading the missions.
Yeah, I think you're totally right on the buildup. Dude, like Captain Marvel, honestly, I think I told you this when we watched
Hmm.
it, but I felt like that movie was made by AI or something.
Oh, right, right.
Like it was like, hey, AI, like Marvel movie maker,
Marvel movie maker.
make me a movie about Captain Marvel. And I mean, the intro of it's like boom, explosion there, boom, explosion there. It just felt
Hmm.
like how do we make sure people's attention is kept throughout this whole movie, because we know everyone has like attention disorders or something. Like they can't pay
Right,
attention. They can't sit still and watch a movie. So I think you're right about that. It's hard to find a mainstream movie where it actually like kind of kind of makes you wait a little bit. It's like really slow in the
right,
beginning.
right, right.
Yeah.
And those movies exist. Lord of the Rings is a big one where the payoff comes at the last, I think, 10 minutes or half an hour of the
Mm-hmm.
saga,
Mm-hmm.
and it really pays off. I would say Star Wars, the original trilogy, was equal in that regard, where it's actually very close to Infinity War and Endgame, where, well, for the Star Wars, the second movie ends in a huge cliffhanger of essentially the hero losing. And
Oh,
things like that don't happen as often as they should in movies,
yep.
because I think people are afraid of making a single movie where the villain wins.
Yeah.
With Marvel, they could afford to do it because they were shooting the two movies back to back, and they knew that the second movie was going to come out, so they could afford to do that, and they could afford to leave the viewers in a cliffhanger.
Yeah. I think I'm with you. I'm happy that we got to live to see kind of comic books go mainstream on like the big screen.
Hmm.
Like Thanos' snap, like that. That's like forever meme material.
Forever.
Yeah. So after Steins Gate, was Naruto? Were you saying Naruto
Oh,
was on the
right.
list?
So what did I say? So far, I said Haikyuu, Full Metal, Steins Gate. I have to put Naruto then. I'll put it there. This one I kind of struggled with because there's so many. I wanted to put one just for nostalgia, and I don't count Full Metal as nostalgia, and Naruto wins that hands down. It's something I go back to once in a while. It's a comfort anime at this point. You know the story, but you want to go back to the characters. That's it. We've spoke enough about that, so I'm not going to go into it. And the fifth one, just to piss you off, Attack on Titan.
Oh, I was hoping it wouldn't be there, but all right. I'm just happy it's fifth.
Oh, they're no. This is not in discernible order. Let's put it together. It might be number one. You don't know
Okay, Attack on Titan.
that. I think we'll label this one as a bonus episode. Just it's more for fun. I think we're mostly rambling without too much direction. I don't know how people will receive this one. I think people listen to the first one and they expected a more. I think a lot of people were talking about. Oh, I hope you go into more investment
Oh, like
strategies.
altcoins and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, which we'll talk about, I think, at some point. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to let people know that we can venture out a little bit.
Yeah, don't worry, guys. We'll talk about Come Rocket and Safe Moon. We'll
Aha.
we'll get there.
To Safe Moon. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
it'll be on our OnlyFans.
Oh, right. OnlyFans. Okay, well, just wrapping things up while we stay on this.
Oh, I wanted to say my top four.
Oh, please, if you. Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you better be.
Let's hear it. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
All right, so Attack on Titan is definitely not on this list. So if you're waiting
Okay,
to hear that, I'm gonna just spoil that for you now. No Attack on Titan.
okay.
So there's this is my list, and I guess there's not really an order to it.
Hmm.
But okay, so number one is One Punch Man, and
Ooh,
this is
season two included.
yes, season two
Hmm.
included.
Okay.
Definitely. So this one I think is because the story is just so deceptively simple, and I love it when that happens. Like One Punch Man, it's just about like this man who's, and it also goes against kind of the trope that you expect from anime, where oh you have a character who is like starting out as weak, and throughout the course of the series they become strong, and there is a natural growth to this character and development, and you can kind of follow along with his progress. And that's kind of the style that other most stories go along with. With
Hmm.
One Punch Man, it kind of takes that for a turn in I think a very unique way, where the main character he's already too strong. He's like at the end of his growth in terms of strength, and he can already beat every enemy in one punch. And I think that actually is super fascinating because now instead of just about him trying to get stronger, it's about him dealing with what do you do when there's nothing to do anymore. And I think that is a really existential question that isn't really talked about enough in anime. So I think One Punch Man is just great because it decides to delve into that kind of avenue. And another reason is I think the backstory behind One Punch Man is just really inspiring
Right. I agree.
for everyone. So Abs already mentioned this before, but One Punch Man actually wasn't like this professionally done manga by a professional manga artist at first. It was done by so what's funny is in One Punch Man, the main character Saitama, he refers to himself as a hero who just does it for fun. And the funny thing is, the creator of One Punch Man, the original creator, he actually just had like a normal corporate job, and he was a manga artist for fun. He just did it on the side. He was a total amateur, and you can actually look up these comics. I think they're still being written by him,
Yep.
and they're very raw. They look nothing like the manga that you expect from like Naruto, for example. It's very apparent that this guy is an amateur, but he was able to, because his story was so compelling, people loved the story so much. Bigger studios, they decided to make it into like a professional manga anime, and I think the artist behind Eye Shield, they got
I
him.
Shield 21.
He's
That's
like,
correct.
yes, he's super famous for, he's super famous for his manga style, and
Yeah,
he's actually the one who draws it now.
just to add a little bit on the manga, the author for Aishel 21 personally reached out to one
Oh
and
wow,
said, I believe that's the case where he
I think
said,
so. Yes.
if you would let me, I would love to adapt it. And one, by the way, isn't a bad artist. He did follow up with a manga that he attempted drawing better
Uh
on,
huh.
with
Mm,
Mob Psycho, where it looks like a professional. It looks like a professional art.
yeah.
Just letting you know. But yeah, the iShield 21 author reached out to him, said, I'll do this, and it was a great collaboration. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, I mean that's just amazing, and I think that's just really inspiring to kind of show you like,
Hmm.
you can make your dreams come true. Like this guy, that was his dream to become a manga artist, and he just kept doing it, and now he is one of the top mangas or animes in Japan. Like One Punch Man, like everyone knows about One Punch
Hmm.
Man. Um,
Even in the Western world, I would say it's
yes,
one of those
yes,
animes. I remember when the first season came out. First season is a lot better than the second one, but that doesn't mean the second one is bad. I'm one of the few where I kind of enjoyed the second season, but it was a drop in terms of quality and animation and directing.
Yeah,
The
I
first
yeah, I agree
season
with that.
was absolute perfection. I remember when the last two episodes came out, the episode 9 and 10, and for both of the release days, I went to the gym, and they were showing it on TV, and
Whoa.
everyone of all creeds and color were just around
All
watching
crease in
it.
color.
It was such an amazing feeling that we were part of it. Just the crowd gathering and watching something, and there were some old folks there also watching. And this was a Planet Fitness, so there really were people of all creeds and color there and ages. It was just amazing. It really penetrated the Western market like very few anime have done before.
Okay, I was gonna say something, but I realized it might spoil it. Just watch One Punch
Mm,
Man. It's great.
it really is.
So number two, yeah. So One Punch Man, just
Hmm.
because amazing story and also just great lesson from the author's journey.
Right.
Next one is Boku no Hero
Hmm.
Academia, and I think I kind of talked about this
Yeah,
before.
people might know it as My Hero Academia. I think that's
Yes.
MHA is usually the placeholder.
Yep. And I know like people give it flack for being super mainstream and
Hmm.
kind of predictable because it uses a lot of the same shonen tropes with like the tournament arc.
In
But I
every arc.
yes, yes. I think just the emotional valence and the range that it has, if you like kind of martyr characters, you're gonna love Boku no Hero. You're probably gonna cry, so buy yourself a box of tissues. Next is Naruto. I
Of
think
course.
I feel like if I was an executive and I watched that first pilot episode, I would be like, give this guy 700 more episodes.
Dude, speaking of that, I'm surprised there hasn't been a live action Western movie of Naruto.
Oh yeah, they
Speaking
don't
of
have to
that,
whitewash it, right? Naruto's
they don't
already
have to.
blue eyes and blonde hair.
I feel like someone listening to this as a Netflix executive is furiously
Oh,
writing.
oh no, no, we didn't mean it was a joke. Please.
Oh my god, I'm surprised. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, Naruto, like, come on, you just have to watch Naruto. It holds
Hmm.
up. Like so many anime don't quite hold up. But Naruto, like, it's timeless. All the messages, the lessons, the character development. It's like just the whole entire world. By the end of it, you really feel like these people are your friends, are real. Like you grew up with them, and I feel like Abs like watching it this in middle school, and he's like around the same age as Naruto at the time too.
Yeah, yeah,
Like you
yeah.
really feel like you grew up with the series. Like the time skip,
Yes.
like you're the same age as Naruto after the time skip. You're like, oh shit, like Naruto grew, I grew too. Like we both got our, yeah, we both grew, and I think like Naruto is just like, I feel like if anyone ever asks like, what is like the one anime I should watch if I don't watch any other anime
Hmm.
to like understand what anime is, I might choose Naruto just
Hmm.
because it encompasses so much. It's just such a big world and it's so popular too. And I feel like that Naruto is kind of like the gateway drug for most of us into the rest of anime. Like Naruto is probably the first anime. I don't know if it was for you, but I feel like for most people it was.
Yeah. I think in terms of real anime, not counting Pokemon and Dragon Ball, it
Oh, I
definitely
see.
was because they were technically anime, and I did watch Pokemon and Dragon Ball before that. The one thing that always hold me back from suggesting Naruto to new anime watchers is a couple of things. It doesn't hold up as well, and that's nothing to fault Naruto. At that time, it was great. The animation style doesn't always hold up if you compare it to My Hero or Demon Slayer or any of the recent anime, unfortunately. Second thing is their English voice acting, at least in the beginning, where
Oh, yeah.
uh,
You gotta watch it subbed. I mean,
you really kind of have to watch it subbed. The whole sub only community kind of came from those days where the English voice acting wasn't great.
oh,
Now you can get even some recent episodes, you can get great voice acting, I think English voice acting
Mm-hmm.
episodes. Basically, this I think for My Hero, it's the same day, and
Yeah.
it holds up so well. The other thing is the fillers overall. It can drag Shippuden the first couple episodes. I actually made an Excel sheet, Excel thing about when I was rewatching it,
Oh.
how slow the episodes are, like how many chapters are being adapted every
Oh
episode.
wow.
And I think let me see if I can pull it up at some point. I'll share it with you, if it somehow exists still. It just slows down so much during the beginning of Shippuden.
Mm-hmm.
It really is telling.
Yeah.
It kind of speeds up. I think they realize, oh crap, yeah, you can't really sustain this, and then it kind of slows down during the war arc, where there's like a hallucination arc, essentially a
Uh-huh.
dream sequence. Just one unique thing I will add about Naruto. I love the main character. I love Naruto. It's the only anime where he's number one for me, and
Mm,
everyone else is tier two, tier three. In
interesting.
Boku no Hero, Deku is not my favorite character. Full Metal Alchemist, Edward isn't my only number one character. In Naruto, he is the best.
Ah.
He is he has to. I have to say he's the best main character, at least in my opinion, when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to anime. And one of the scenes that I really wish Kishimoto did more with, there was a scene where he has a panic attack, and this is a guy who
Oh, uh-huh.
has the power of this nine-tailed beast inside him. He can go up toe to toe with anyone,
Yeah.
and he literally has a panic attack because his one of his friends was in danger. And something like that you just don't see as much. And
Mm,
I wish the author did a little bit more with that, but it totally humanized him.
yeah.
And for Shippuden, in the beginning, he was still the same Naruto, just a little grown up. But as the series went on, you saw him become an adult,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the author did a great job with that. In terms of, like you said, in terms of growing up,
That's very hard. Yeah.
it's so hard.
It's
It's
so
so hard.
so many animes have failed to do that. Like,
Yep. Yep.
when you grow a character like Naruto, you know him as a kid, and to so gracefully be able to
Yeah.
age him and to do it not in a tacky way.
And
Yeah,
believable.
totally, totally. Time skips are always hard because of that one
Hmm.
reason, and he executes it flawlessly. And he does it for every other character too, like
Yeah, I
Sakura
have to
and
say you're right.
Sasuke.
Yeah, I think yeah, all the glow ups, all the evolutions
Right.
are believable.
It,
There might be one or two that I'm sure people will pick up on that aren't great, but honestly, for the 90% of them, were pretty fantastic.
yeah. He didn't just make the character grow a few inches and like it was the same exact character.
Right, right,
It
right.
wasn't just like a taller Naruto. It was actually like a more mature Naruto, what you would
Mm.
expect in 3 years, which was amazing.
Yeah, and I think there's something else that I really loved. In 3 years, he wasn't perfect. Like there was still
Oh,
more to go. He
so
wasn't
much more.
so
Yes.
much more. He wasn't his best. He wasn't the most mature. He didn't have full control of his power, and I like that. That's cool. Look, you trained for 3 years, but 3 years isn't enough. Still have a whole series to go, and
Right.
just seeing that is amazing. Every time we had a summer break, I always wanted to come back like Shippuden Naruto. Like, hey, yeah, I learned a lot, man. A lot of things happened, but you always come out cringy. But anyway, you didn't mention your fourth, by the way.
Yes. So my fourth, I think I had three kind of more mainstream
Hmm.
animes, which I'm proud of. I don't need to have. So my fourth one, I guess it kind of goes off the beaten path a little bit, is an anime called Planetus.
Yes, yes, yes.
So this is, I think, one of the more underrated animes. It usually is like pretty high on anime lists, but it's like
Hmm.
not near the top. I think on my anime list it's like an 8 point something, and I think Naruto is like around there too. So like very few
Hmm.
people know about this anime, but I think it's like super good. And just like a short blurb on what it is about. It's about like a futuristic Earth. It's about us like in the future when we kind of have a lot of garbage, right? And we start sending our garbage into space.
Hmm.
And after a while, we realize, oh, this is actually pretty dangerous because some of this garbage can kind of go back into Earth and hit people, like basically a man-made meteor. And because of that, Earth has started dispatching like garbage men into space, and their job is basically to clean up the debris around Earth. And as garbage men kind of are in our society today, these garbage men of the future are also on a pretty low rung of society. They're not really respected, and the main character is this younger man, a young adult who is works as one of these garbage men who cleans up space debris. And I think what this anime, like aside from just having a great story, like it has it's the whole shebang. This man, he grows from being pretty content with his role of being a garbage man to wanting to become more. And
Mm-hmm.
one of his goals that he tries to strive for is being able to board a spaceship. It is like a new project that Earth has in mind, which is a space exploration mission from Earth to Jupiter, I think, where they're going
Mm-hmm.
to be conducting like a lot of research, basically cutting edge research, and only the best of the best are going to be sent on this mission. And his dad is one of those people. So throughout the series, he develops an ambition to be on this trip, and he grows from being really content to wanting to be on this mission with his dad. And I think what spoke to me about this anime, even though the anime is about like having a lot of ambition, is that throughout the series, this man he shows his struggle, and I think a lot of us, like our viewers and you and me as well, probably have this struggle of like balancing between our ambitions and maybe what people consider not as ambitious, such as things like family or relationships, things that are like I guess more human or like closer to the heart, like
Mm-hmm.
balancing between like reaching for like money, fame, career versus family. And he himself, he struggles with that too because his trip to go to Jupiter, that would mean that he is separated from his family on Earth for many years actually, and he actually gets a girlfriend throughout the series, and this trip would actually mean that he's separated from the girlfriend as well. And he struggles with this a lot. And I think during that time of my life, I was very kind of singularly focused on my career. And
Mm-hmm.
I was almost like, I'll just admit that I would say I was willing to sacrifice my relationships with my friends and my family in order for my career.
Yeah,
And
it was evident.
if you say it like
I'm
that,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I mean, no, I don't think so. But no, I agree with you. And I just had like the singular goal, and I was ready to give everything else up as long as it meant success in that area. And this anime just came at such a perfect time in my life where it kind of showed me, oh no, like there's actually a lot more to life. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, like this person may be striving for this, but the anime gives a convincing argument for both, showing that there's many powerful scenes where he is with his family and his girlfriend, and he has moments where it makes him stop and think, like it makes him freeze, and it's like, am I still making the right choice to separate myself from her? Like if I get to go on this trip, like yes, it might be good for my career, but I'm gonna be separated from this person, and if we have kids, like I'm not gonna be with my kid, and that just came as a huge shock to me, and I think it kind of reset my thinking in a way. So
Mm-hmm.
I could almost say that that anime changed my life because after watching that, my beliefs and what was important was it was all really like toppled down, and
Mm-hmm.
I really had to rebuild that from the ground up. And I think after watching that, I had to reevaluate like what is actually really important to me, and I think now I have a better balance in my life, like understanding life is not just about being as successful or making as much money as you can. It's actually good to make sacrifice for the people you care about. Like that's actually really important as well. So that's kind of why Planetis is number four for me. Just
Mm-hmm.
because the way it changed me and affected me and allowed me to have even this podcast. I don't know if I didn't watch Planet Test, we'd be doing this. So
Well, thank God for that then.
yes, that's my number four vote.
So Planet, I'm so happy that you mentioned it because you reminded me to watch it because it's on my list. And next, I have an actual Word document with things I want to watch, and next to it, I have it as this is a hard science anime. And hard science fiction is basically science fiction stories that care about scientific accuracy,
Mm,
which is I love
it's very hard to
stuff
do.
like that. It's very hard to do. That genre just draws me in. So I've been wanting to watch that anime for so long. I didn't know that you had even watched it. That's so awesome.
Yeah, I watched it kind of on the down low, but
Good for you.
yeah, I highly recommend.
hmm I think the best shows in general, best media sometimes are done low key. I watched Black Clover without really. I don't think anyone was watching it that I knew of. It was very popular in the mainstream, but no one that I knew watched it. But I
Mm.
liked the openings. I kind of liked the main character story, and I just watched it. And I don't know. I just kind of fell in love with it, and I don't think anyone I know has watched it ever, and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone either. It's it's good. It's good, but there are definitely a lot better out there if you want to spend time on it. But yeah, I think but those things where you also learn life lessons and something that changes the way you
Yeah,
look at things, I just want to give one small digression into the whole anime is not an art complaint that I see a lot. Screw you if you think that.
yeah. I don't even know why they're still listening to this.
Oh, I'm pretty sure they're gone at that point. But any media can change your life. It's not really limited to anything animated or anything live action. These things are art, and one thing can affect you, and it won't affect someone else, and it can totally change the way you look at things. And another thing is the timing of it all. You said it best.
Yep.
At that time you were focusing on your careers, and I'm sure you didn't even realize the sacrifices you were making because you thought your career was the most important thing, and this new perspective just showed you that there was more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I think if you watched it 2 years before that or 2 years after that, it may not have had the same
Yeah,
effect. That's just so
it
fascinating
wouldn't
and
have
just
hit the
so fun.
same. You're right.
It just would not. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. It's probably the best part of this episode.
Uh, okay, I'll take that.
No, it really was. I was just stunned. I was just listening to it. It was really beautiful.
No, man, I'm happy that I got to hear like your top five as well. Like now I know like we have to finish Steins Gate. Like come on.
Yeah, please, please. It does pay. I mean, again, it's not everyone's cup of tea. I've definitely recommended to person who came back and said, "Why did you recommend me? I finished it. It was not that great." And I was like, "Okay, no problem. I'm sorry. Please watch something else." And I was surprised because they like science fiction and stuff, and I was surprised that they didn't like that. But yeah,
Are you still friends with that person?
yes, yes, I am.
Oh,
I
you're a
mean,
good
come on.
person. I don't know if I would be.
No, I think everyone's you know, I think like you said, I some media, however good it is to us, depending on the timing of it, depending on if you find it naturally or if it was recommended, depending on what you're going through, you may not like it. Even if you would have
Mm-hmm.
liked it a year ago or 2 years ago, or if you would have liked it when you were in middle school, that happens. And I understand that. I think media can affect you in different ways. I know watching, yeah, I'll use Black Clover again, where initially when I first started it, I didn't have as much time. And it's one of those shows that you need to sort of binge. So initially, I didn't really like it. I didn't get into it. But a month or two later, I said, "Oh, let me give it a shot." And then I watched, I think, 100 episodes fairly quickly because I just had a little bit more time. I think I was on vacation. Timing is such a huge thing. What you're going through is such a huge thing. I don't really put if someone doesn't like something I recommend it, no problem. thank you for trying, thank you for listening, but it is what it is.
Oh, that makes one of us. If someone tells me they don't like Naruto, like hands are coming up.
Hands are
Like put
coming.
the gloves on.
Well, I want to end this with one fun question or one fun thing. It's TikTok related. Something I see not just TikTok but on YouTube. These comic book channels. Sometimes they do verses. They'll do this character versus this character, and they go into
Oh.
like fights. They go into replies. They reply to each other. Overall, these by the way, these channels and these personalities 90% of the content they make are amazing because they go into this deep comic book related stuff that the mainstream doesn't know about, and it's really great info. But some of the ones where they say, Flash versus Superman or something like that, I think people forget that these characters aren't written by the same author, and each author can change their power set drastically. So, a character, if they've been written for a long enough time with different authors taking part in it, their power set could be wildly variant. Flash,
Hmm.
for example, I mean, Superman, he went from being a god to they had to nerf him because he could do anything.
Yep.
Batman winning against Superman in most of their fights. I mean,
That's
you know,
justified.
I mean with prep time,
That
yeah,
makes
yeah,
sense. That makes total sense to me.
yeah. It's wild to me. So that those things, I recently saw something where this guy made one opinion and then he was being replied with another creator. I don't want to mention names or anything. It just went back and forth, and the funny thing is they're both right. They're both citing comic book panels that are totally valid,
Uh huh.
that are written well. It's just that they're different authors, they're written different times, and yeah, it's like you're gonna go back and forth. There's no set logic.
Well, you go back and forth unless you're talking about Batman versus Superman, which is there's no back
Ah,
and forth because it's Batman.
yeah. By the way, we will do a Batman only episode where we'll do it justice because we both sort of enjoy that character, and one listener to this podcast gave interest on coming on just to talk about that. So
Oh.
I'll keep you updated.
What was the question? Did you want to bring up like a verses or something?
Not a versus. I mean, I guess it was more of what do you think? Like, can you even verse superhero characters? Like the whole Goku versus Superman thing,
Oh.
because one is two different universes, and the second is depending on the author, you can really write it to have any of them winning. Like you
Mm-hmm.
said, look, I love Batman, but 10 times out of 10, if he's going up against Superman, who can live through anything, how can Batman really win unless you write it that way? If you don't write it that way, it's tough for him to come out victorious.
Yeah, so I know I just about it, but yeah, like Superman, he moves at light speed.
Not even light speed. There were questions about how,
Oh.
I think there was a comment about, you know, he thinks slower than the speed of light, so he can't move as fast or he can't compute. And
Oh.
there was a comic book like I said, you can pick a panel from anything. There was a panel where he is thinking faster than light, I believe. If you really want evidence, you can pull it up. You can support just about anything
Mm-hmm.
as long as the character is written for a long enough time, I think.
Yeah, you make me think. Actually, I'm trying to imagine a fight between Superman and Goku.
Oh,
Actually.
I think it's fun to go back and forth, but when I see comments and some videos where they take it really seriously and they have a very set, oh, there's no way he's gonna win, oh, you are wrong, and you're stupid, you're wrong, and you're stupid. It just makes me cringe, and I'm just like, come on, guys. Like sometimes it's not even fair to compare the two, and you're having a hard set opinion on it.
I guess it's kind of like Naruto versus Attack on Titan. We already know the answer.
Yeah, I mean, Attack on Titan would come out 9 out of 10 times. Better story,
Not
better
the
music.
answer that I was expecting, but
Oh, okay. Should we go through the My Anime List top anime, or hmm?
Yeah.
You're making me do it. All right, fine. Oh, look at that. Number 2.
No,
Attack on
don't.
Titan
Do not tell me.
season 3 part 2.
Are you? Are you?
Where is Naruto? My brother is it's ranked 640
No, it's not.
and Shippuden is ranked 332. I'll give it a
How
fair
dare
300.
these people?
It's tough again because of the fillers. I think some of the fillers are really rated because they're not part of the main story. It doesn't really move the plot forward. Those numbers probably drag it down quite a bit, and Shippuden has I think less fillers, so it's a little higher rated. I think actually no, I could be wrong, but overall I do think if you take 100 anime watchers who have watched both series, I do think if you take nostalgia out of it, they would pick Attack on Titan.
What?
And I love both, and you know that I love both. But it's the same. It's funny we talked about the versus thing. I also don't like comparing those two animes. I think it's somewhat okay to compare two animes in the same category, but even then, it's tough because they're made in different times, and you have to take that into account. You have to take production into account, and they're telling different stories, honestly. So it's probably best not to compare it and just say, look, one's good, the other one's good as well.
I'm still in shock.
Well, I think we should wrap it up. I think this is gonna require a lot more editing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think because it was more directionless. I think there was a lot of good commentary and discussions, but I
Yeah.
think I do have to cut around it a lot because a lot of it was rambling. I think a lot of it was some of it, at least from me, was directionless. But I think on the editing floor, I think we could make it okay. And the other thing I was afraid of was some viewers might not even listen to this because this is a very esoteric commentary.
I don't know if it is. I feel like
Mm,
anime is pretty mainstream now.
I hope so. I really do because that make me very happy.
Like, there's this podcast on YouTube now called like Trash Taste or something.
Oh yes, yes, yes. I watch it.
Yeah, I feel like they
I
talk
love
about
it.
anime a lot, and they're like
Hmm.
pretty popular. Yeah, I feel like people
That's
would
true.
want to listen to this actually, just for
Okay, you know what?
like
Screw
our
it. You're right.
ratings.
You're
Yeah.
right. I'll cut around it. I will send this to you, so we'll get the timestamps before we publish it because I do think they are a huge factor. I think they really changed. They changed the game. A lot of podcasts and videos they don't have that,
Mm.
so I think this does add a level of production that others don't have. But and I'll cut a lot of these parts out because we're just talking about stuff. I'm just recording. If we record something funny, I'll include it. But
Oh, I I guess our standards are different because I think there's like gold right now. Like you're just spitting gold.
what, John? What are you talking
Joe
about?
Rogan, like, watch out for this guy, man.
What? What? You're you're either being too generous or you are far bigger idiot than I thought you were.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, that's really all I have for this one.
yeah.
Thank
I
you.
like this episode.
I mean I love it. I love. We could go 5 hours. There's so much
Mm.
more we could talk about, but it's on this, just on this.
Yep.
But and at some point we gotta let our listeners go
Yeah.
if they haven't already.
Yeah. Go on with your lives.
Go on with your life.
Watch watch Naruto.
Watch Naruto. Thanks for listening. If you guys have feedback, comments, questions, or ideas for the next topic, please message us through the Anchor app or send us an email at thealienandthejester@gmail.com or tweet at us. All the links in the bio and descriptions. And next week, we should be coming back and discussing the epic Fortnite versus Apple lawsuit. It's a good one. All right, goodbye.